safe and unsafe abortion briefly, and what PSI is doing. And I'll just go through it briefly, as there's been a number of series around this, but I don't know if all of you have attended those. As I was explaining in the beginning, medication abortion is a relatively newer technology. The drugs have been around for a long time, but the actual use of this combination of mifepristone and misoprostol, it's only in the last, I guess, 5 to 10 years that it's become common now and shown to be 98% effective in inducing a safe termination of pregnancy up to the standard recommendation is up to 9 weeks. And the advantages of this is it's non-invasive. It can be private. There's no surgery involved. It doesn't even have to be a clinic or a facility with an operations theater or anything where it can be administered, which is a huge advantage because people like midwives in lower level facilities could be administering it. As long as there's a referral for the 2% where it's not effective, would have to be referred to a clinic to actually get surgical completion of the abortion. And it's relatively cheap. The combination of the drugs for the dose required is only $2 to $3. So that's the gold standard in medication abortion. But because it's so politically contentious and legally restricted in most countries, mifepristone is not available because it's really only used in abortion. But misoprostol is available in almost every country because there are 4 indications for misoprostol. It was originally used to treat gastric ulcers. So you find it in every country, at least for gastric ulcers. It's available and it's cheap in most countries. But people have not started to use it for abortion until very recently. And it's also very effective for postpartum hemorrhage. So it's only slightly, in just the misoprostol form, it's only slightly less effective than a combination drug, but it's also non-invasive and it's really cheap. It's only 12 cents a tablet, and you need 4 tablets, so we're talking 40 cents. And it can be, there's no cold chain required. It can be used by lower level health facilities. It's just got numerous advantages for providing a safe abortion in community settings or lower level health facility settings that are advantageous over the surgical abortion. The MBA is a manual vacuum aspiration. It's a syringe with suction that evacuates the uterus, and it's safer than the older method for abortion, which is dilation and curettage, which is the scraping of the uterus. So the MBA is much safer, it's less risky, but it's still not widely used in most developing countries. So there's efforts going on to train providers in developing countries with use of MBA because it's safer and less risky than the DNC. So in combination with the misoprostol or combination medication abortion, when there's a need for a referral, the MBA is the preferred method of completing an abortion.
It also doesn't require electricity, so it's useful in both settings.
Even in lower level settings and in lower level health facilities, the MBA can be used, so it's also an excellent.
Dana, I got this question at the Brown Bag that Carl, Marshall and I hosted about a month ago on our abortion-related work. What are PSI's plans around MBA? Do we plan to scale up, etc.? So I'm wondering if you might be able to...
Yeah. PSI's policy is that in places where abortion is legal, or even we're doing post-abortion care work, that we would conduct training, or we will conduct training in settings where we're asked and we have funding to do that. MBA is also used for post-abortion care. It's the same technology that's used if there's an incomplete abortion or a miscarriage. You would use the same technology. So yes, we would do it. We could do training. We could start up programs. But the primary funding we have for our abortion work and our post-abortion care work is from the Buffett Foundation, and they are requesting us to work primarily in the area of medication abortion. So they are not funding us to conduct training in manual vacuum aspiration. There are other grantees that they fund to do that sort of training. The one exception is Pakistan, where they are funding us in Pakistan to train providers in MVA. So,
Excuse me.
sorry?
If manual vacuum aspiration is safer and cheaper than DNC, why this method being widely used in the United States?
Why what?
Why it's not used widely in the United States or other developed countries?
I think it's the vacuum aspiration with electricity that's primarily used in the U.S., but it's the same technology, it's just in electric suction. This technology is, you don't require electricity, it's just a syringe with suction, but I think the electric one probably a little bit more effective. So in places like the U.S. where there's, electricity, then they would use the electric vacuum aspiration. Does that make sense?
Why is MBA well, not preferable, but why would we use MBA instead of MA?
Why would you use MBA instead of MA? Choice, basically. I mean, I don't think there's in most cases, a medical